Hey everybody, welcome to Cycling Videos Online. Whether you're riding a spin bike or a trainer, this is your destination to begin your journey for all indoor activities. Have an adventure and have fun. Today, we've got a great ride planned that begins in downtown Sacramento, in Old Town Sacramento, and we'll follow the Sacramento River all the way until we hit the American River, and then we're going to follow the American River Trail all the way into Folsom. The entire ride is about 30 miles and a little over 2 hours in length. We'll take breaks about every 30 minutes or so. You can pause there, start up the next day, or continue on. It's a really beautiful ride. Today's a beautiful day. It's springtime. Our efforts are going to be focused in the lower aerobic zone, in the mid-aerobic zone, and we'll get our heart rate up at times, getting into the high 80s. Otherwise, I mean, it's a really beautiful ride. It's a nice cool-down ride. You're going to feel great when you're finished. Lace up and let's get riding. No, I just need to start all my sensors up, so we're good. I'm just gonna film everything from here on out. Welcome everybody to Old Town Sacramento, beautiful Old Town, and the beautiful parking garage.
It's harder for me to grab it on my camel.
Yeah. That's where I used to. You are listening to the default audio track.
Yeah, I know, right?
And this audio track includes instruction. It has music and the sounds from the ride. Track 2, we eliminate the music. And track 3, we eliminate the narrative. And then track 4, you're left with just the natural sounds of the ride.
Pedestrian exit.
Well, welcome everybody to Sacramento, California.
Right here, I think.
We're beginning here in Old Town. We're working our way out, obviously, out of the parking garage. And today is just an absolutely fantastic day. You'll see the metrics on the screen there, all the zeros. We're going to talk a little bit about that and how to use that, so don't fret. Just go ahead and
Got it?
start turning the legs and getting warmed up and enjoy this fantastic day and beautiful workout. Old Town Sacramento is kind of a cool little touristy part of the town. There's a few museums here and a whole bunch of coffee shops, dining, stores. It's kind of a neat place. And we're right along the Sacramento River here.
I think I missed the turn.
And you see the railroad track.
Yeah.
There's actually a railroad museum. And there's a history museum. And even a old riverboat that you'll kind of get a glimpse at as we hit the trail. It's an old riverboat hotel. You can book a room. Be very romantic. That pyramid building there, right in front of us, that's the governor's office. So Arnold was there. Sorry about that horrible accent. We're just getting started out here. I'm riding with my good buddy Michael, and he left his wallet in the restaurant, so we're going to take a little stop here, let him go grab his wallet, then we'll head out. As you can see, this is a very fun, active area. Very cool. All right. And we are rolling, and we're going to be rolling for the next 30 minutes, where we'll take a little break, and then we'll continue on for another 30 minutes, and we're going to do that a few times. So we'll get a good 2 hours of riding in here.
What's that?
And this walk here, paralleling the Sacramento River off to the left. You'll see it in a minute. See if you can see that boat. I think maybe we actually just passed it.
I know, right?
So right now we're actually taking it real easy, just a very gentle spin, soft pedal, coasting down these little hills here. And we're heading out. It's the first nice warm day of the year that I got to experience anyway. We were up in Tahoe working on a house up there, doing some remodeling work, and we decided to come down here and go for a ride. It was just really nice because it was the first time we got to wear shorts all year. And the weather is warm, not hot, not cold. It's just perfect.
You know if these hills are too tough for you, Michael.
And I'm giving him a hard time. He's complaining about his back. This poor guy. We've been working hard, doing sheetrock, lifting stuff over our heads. My shoulders are sore. His back hurts. We're getting old. Anyway, let's go over that dashboard, and those are the overlays that you're looking at. Off to the right, you'll see our moving map. Now I'll just give you kind of a nice little overhead view of where we're at, and you can reference that against things, you know, off to the sides that you can't see from the trail. It's kind of interesting at times because oftentimes we feel like we're, you know, just 100% nature and nobody around, but you look at the map and, you know, there's offices and subdivision and you're right in the thick of things. But this trail is so pretty, it disguises itself as a like an old I kind of imagine myself driving in a 1940s buggy on an old dirt road in the middle of the country. That's just kind of the impression I get from this fun trail. You can go out with the kids and have a picnic. So yeah, that moving map, it's not 100% accurate. Just use it for fun. I was having some GPS issues, so the speed just keeps, you know, jumping up and down. But it'll give you kind of an idea what we're doing. On the left side of the screen, that's where all the juicy workout data is at. And you'll follow that information to keep the ride realistic and keep you busy too. Don't forget to drink. So if all you're doing is pedaling, watching the scenery, that's all fine and dandy, but that kind of gets old after a while. Those tools and all that information down there is designed to simulate the actual ride, what we're feeling whenever we come to a hill or a headwind, or if we start challenging ourselves with higher efforts. That dashboard's going to prompt you to make those changes on the fly, and it's synchronized with the trail. So for example, here we are coming to this bridge. You'll see everything kind of zeroes out as we're coasting, and we come around and we start pedaling again, and you start seeing the numbers coming up. So the first tool, let's just go from left to right. Our RPE tool, and RPE stands for rated perceived exertion. That's just basically how hard it feels like we're working at this given time. And a 2, 3 is pretty low. So an RPE scale is basically built on it's built on the concept of sustained or lactic threshold power. So in other words, when we start approaching our lactic threshold, we basically have about 6 to 8 minutes of time before we are forced to take a rest. So it's unsustainable. So it's almost closest to your maximum effort, but lactic threshold maximum is a little different in that it's defining your maximum at about a 6 to 8 minute interval. So it's a very high effort, but it's sustainable for a short period of time. And then you're forced to take a breather. It exists up in that time trial effort where you're basically going solo into the wind and you're trying to go as hard as fast as you can, and you're trying to stretch that out as much as you can. So if you're seeing 2 or 3 or even a 4 here, we're basically at a level of effort where it's very comfortable. So a 1 is basically no effort. You know, when you get up to a 4 or 5, it's comfortable effort. A 6 or a 7, you're going to start getting that heart rate up. You're going to start breathing. An 8 or a 9, you're pushing pretty hard, and it's still sustainable. And a 10, you're going to run out of juice in about 5 or 6 minutes. So that's how you look at that RPE. And it jumps around a little bit, but as long as you're not seeing anything spike up into the 8, 9s or 10s, you can kind of get away with keeping a casual strolling pace. Every once in a while we'll come up to like a little climb, and that RPE is going to shoot up as we're working ourselves up over that climb. A useful tool, that heart rate, just HR, it's the next graphic over to the right of RPE, is showing us a heart rate as a percentage of max. So there's a few ways you can determine what your heart rate is as a percent of max. You may already know, but if not, I'm going to give you a quick rundown. Basically, we were talking about lactic threshold heart rates. That heart rate you can sustain for 6 to 8 minutes. We're going to call that our maximum heart rate. A sprint maximum, where you're going 100% with everything you possibly have, it's not a real useful number to reference, because once you hit that effort, you don't have much after that. So kind of the ride comes to a quick end if you ever go that hard. That's usually like at the end of a race where you're putting everything you got into it, and then when you're done, you're just a sack of goo trying to recover. You got nothing left. So what good is hitting that effort? Because once you hit that 100% in that area, you can't recover. So a more appropriate number to use as 100% is your threshold heart rate, which is that 6 to 8 minute heart rate. And that's probably right around 95% 96% of your absolute max, just to give you kind of an idea. So what you want to find out is, what is your threshold heart rate? And there's a few ways you could do that. One, you could watch our video, Concussive Intervals, which teaches you how to find that heart rate. Then once you find that heart rate, all you need to do is plug it into your heart rate monitor. And if your heart rate monitor will convert your max heart rate into a percentage of max, then you're off to the races. If not, what you could try doing is creating a list of heart rates in beats per minute and write it down. So for example, what is your heart rate at 100%? Or what's your threshold heart rate at 100%? Now you could use, I don't like using this, but you could use the the standard calculation at 220 beats per minute minus your age. But all that does is kind of gives you kind of a ballpark idea of what your max heart rate is. And it's always better to discover your personal max, so that you can train within your own limits and not the limits of other people. So, if you're going to use the pen and paper method, you're going to understand what your max heart rate is. And if let's say for example, your maximum heart rate is 180 beats per minute, you would write down your max heart rate, 180 beats per minute equals 100%. And if you look at your max heart rate versus your current heart rate, that will give you your instantaneous percentage of max. So for example, let's say your maximum is 180 and you're actually going at 180. So 180 divided by 180 equals 1 times 100 is 100%. Now let's say your heart rate is 170. So then you take 170, divide that by 80, or 180, I'm sorry. Take that value, multiply it by 100, and that's your beats per minute, or your percentage of max at that specific heart rate. Or another way to calculate it, which might be easier, is take your maximum heart rate and multiply that number by 0.95, and whatever your calculator spits out, that's your heart rate at 95%. And then do that again at 0.90. So take 180, multiply it by 0.90, and whatever number that spits out is your heart rate at 90%. Hope that makes sense. Math. Fun math. I just destroyed this beautiful day and this gorgeous trail. So you can see all this beautiful, these trees, this lovely trail, this field off to the right, and it just looks so nice and so tranquil and peaceful. And you look at the overhead map, and you got a highway right next to you, subdivision, coming up to storage or outlets or whatever. Okay, a little pause here in the action. But this is not our break yet. So you see that those numbers are shooting up as we're accelerating from a standstill. So that's heart rate. That's a big part of the workout videos, is knowing where your effort levels are at, so that one, you can understand how your body is feeling. That's your RPE at a specific effort level, and what your heart rate is doing at a specific effort level. Getting to understand your body is a huge part of fitness in general, a huge part of weight loss and diet. And the more you know about yourself, the more efficient you'll be at hitting your goals and doing those things that you've been fighting to do, whether it's accomplishing a certain goal, fitness goal, distance goal, weight loss goal, appearance, whatever. Get to know how your body responds to different levels of effort. So to the right of that heart rate, you got an 80 RPM. That's our leg speed. That's how fast we're pedaling. If you have a cadence sensor, that's going to be super handy. I'd recommend it. And if you don't, I'd recommend a good GPS heart rate monitor or good GPS heart rate computer, like Kuspo, for example, has some great items that are very affordable and very accurate, that track your power, your cadence, your heart rate, your speed, and syncs with Strava and Facebook, and share your personal workout information, kind of get people behind you, but then have a good computer that lets you see what you're doing and where you're at. So that cadence at 65 RPM, 70 RPM now, telling us how fast our legs are turning. And looking over to the right of that resistance value, which is showing a 4, 5, 6, 5. That resistance is depending on what you're pedaling right now, it's a guide to help you determine what gear you need to be in order to recreate the resistance of this particular effort here, or the resistance you're going to put on your spin bike. So typically with a bike on a trainer, those values from 1 to 8 are going to tell you what gear you should be in. So like an 8 is your most difficult gear in the back, and a 1 would be your easiest gear in the back. And then if you start seeing those 9s and 10s pop up, you're going to throw it in your big chain ring up front, and that'll get you those 9s and 10s. So, usually like a 1 and a 2, I'll be in my easiest gear, and then if it goes to a 3, I'll go to the next gear up, 4, the next gear up. So I'm always like, 1 gear less than what the resistance value is. On your spin bike, though, what you're going to do is just kind of dial up those resistances. So, a 1 is really just a super easy resistance, or a coast, where you're just coasting, you're not actually pedaling. You'll get that 1. And then as soon as you start pedaling, you'll get that 2. And if it jumps up to a 3 or 4, you can just add a little bit of resistance to your legs. So if you see a hill, you're not sure what resistance to use, take a glance at that resistance and dial it up. So above that, above the RPM and the resistance is simply our hill profile and effort profile graphs. So our heart rate profile is on the bottom and our hill profile is on the top. So what you can see is that our heart rate is, that bottom graph, our heart rate is going to slowly build up a little higher and a little higher. So right now we've been building up from 65% of max. Now we're jumping up to 75, 76. And you can see where that charts as we're still in that green effort. And then when you see those orange and yellow efforts, you'll know that that effort is going to jump up. So we'll be in the 85 or so percent of max there. You look over a little further to the right of that orange hill, and you'll see those two red spikes, and those are two pretty high level efforts that we're going to have to conquer to get through the ride. But overall, what we're doing right now is pretty much our average effort throughout this ride. Nice job. So coasting around this corner and start pedaling. Resistance goes up just because we're accelerating. So add a little resistance, then take that resistance off. Cadence about 80, 75, 80. Easy gear. And then we're adding resistance here as we're accelerating and taking it off. And then accelerating and then removing it. 80 RPM, resistance at 4. Heart rate 74%. Cadence at 85. Resistance down a little bit. Heart rate 75%. We're accelerating here. See that RP is kind of popping up. So we're not taking it super easy, but we're also not going super hard. So that's that 6-7 range I was talking about. So we still got lots of room left in our effort. So if we needed to apply a heavy load or a heavy effort, we got some headroom. But you know, we're getting close. We're sweating. Heart rate's at 78% now. Even though we're not feeling a ton of pressure on our legs, we're keeping that cadence going. Add a little resistance here. 75 RPM, 80. And bringing that resistance down, and putting it right back on again. Lower. So I'm in like my second gear in the back. Now I'm in my third gear. Now I'm in my fourth. Accelerating. Bringing it down to my third. And then 75 RPM. Watching my cadence. Trying not to get my heart rate up too high. So we're only at 77 now %. So you can see that this dash will take a little bit of practice in order to really dial it in. And on rides like this where you're kind of on a rolly bike path, you're going to see a lot of changes in resistance, but just focus primarily on your heart rate, cadence. Don't let your heart rate go through the ceiling. Keep it right at that 77% for now. But prepare yourself, because you can see on that graph that that heart rate's going to keep kind of crawling up into higher efforts. So that's how that dash works. So for some of you who might have, grown up with these videos, you'll notice that I got rid of the gearing. And that was simply because it takes so much time to add. Putting in those clicks, I know it's kind of nice, easier to follow if you're on a bike, but what I've discovered is that, following the resistance, once you get used to it, it's actually a little bit nicer, because it becomes more your decision. It's more your ride, and you're not locked into a specific gear. And if you're finding that gear is too hard, and you're wondering why in heaven's name that gearing is so difficult and your heart rate is shooting through the roof, that can be frustrating. So no more gear guide, just cadence, resistance, and heart rate. So stay on that, and you're going to get the same ride experience, maybe a little bit better. Little resistance added here, and a little taken off. Now also, if this is your first time with cycling videos online, I'm not going to keep talking about your workout. I'm going to end it at that 30-minute break, and we're going to talk about something completely different, because all that information is there right in front of you. You don't need to listen to me. If you don't want to, turn me off, put on your own music, and you'll get the workout right there without me telling you to feel the burn all the time, or add more resistance, bring up that cadence, da-da-da-da. I want you to feel like you're on a bike ride, and I want to keep this experience real for you. So that's there for you. But, to kind of keep things moving along and keep things interesting, I'm going to talk about something completely different. In today's subject, after our break, we're going to begin our discussion on diets, and we're going to be talking about Ozempic, and we're going to be talking about fad diets, what to avoid, what to use, and how to think about ultimately your weight loss strategy or diet strategy. And it's I think it's a pretty interesting and informative topic. Because if you're in the internet, part of the internet generation, or even if you're not in that generation and you're just learning that generation, then there's a lot of really bad information. Here's our break, and we'll pick this up in just a minute.